Hello. Welcome to another episode of Cantinho Benfiquista podcast, episode 212. Going through or going home? As you can tell, I prepared this prior to the match, and the answer is going through. Fortunately, we're not going home just yet. As always, I'm your host, Mike. I am joined today by Kenny. At the moment, Oscar is supposed to join us, but he's fashionably late, as always. Kenny, I feel like it's been a little while since you've been here.
It's been a while.
It
Yeah.
has. How does it feel to be back? And it sounds like you've been capable or able to watch a little bit more Benfica.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a busy year. I've been in and out of the pod with you guys, but I've been following along a little bit more now. Definitely the Club World Cup more than the league this year. But it's good. It's good to be back on with you and get to chat a little bit about Benfica.
I think the timings of the game probably are more beneficial. Some being in the middle of the day, some being late at night, opposed to weekends, right? With kids, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah, we have the little one in daycare now, so it gives us
There you go.
a good break from the action.
More time. That's good.
Yeah.
Today we are going to cover obviously the 1-0 historic victory Benfica against Bayern Munich. We have never beaten them in an official match.
No.
Finally, we got it done today. I believe it was 10 losses and 3 draws, if I'm not mistaken, or 9 and 3 or something like that. But first time in an official match, we've defeated them. We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about our overall performance in the Club World Cup. We'll talk about what were our expectations going into the Club World Cup versus what are we seeing today as a whole, not just Benfica specific. And the very, I guess, maybe one-sided in the sense of one area of people are pushing this debate more than others, which is the South American teams versus European teams and who's better and all this stuff. I know that it's overtaken Kenny's social media algorithms and it's stressing him out.
It stresses me out for sure.
So I'm sure some of you will probably have your opinions on it as well, but I know Kenny's got a very set opinion on this. And of course, we'll look ahead to the game this weekend, Saturday in Charlotte. We don't know who it's going to be against. It could be against Esperance Tunisie or Chelsea, who both face each other tonight at 9 p.m., about 40 minutes from now. So a lot to cover. Let's dive right in quickly. We got a comment here from Andrew on Instagram, DJ Infinite, Benny Beats, Milton estão a cabo de North Carolina. Yeah, they are in North Carolina. I've seen some videos of the festivities post-game. And let's just say there's going to be a lot of Benfica fans that are going to wake up with a headache tomorrow morning. And hopefully they make it to a bed.
Historic day. It's a historic day for it. Yeah,
historic for us. So it's a good time to celebrate. Let's see. Boris, good win, but not regular Bayern. We'll get into that. Olá. Para a malta que esteja bem em português, participem aqui nesta nossa conversa. Deixem os vossos comentários, podem deixar em português ou em inglês, como quiserem. Estejam à vontade de participar. Falem connosco, deixem as vossas opiniões e nós vamos abordar os vossos comentários. For those of you in English, leave us your comments, make this interactive. Let us know what you're thinking. What are your thoughts? We might even share a link for you to jump in and join us live if you'd like to share your thoughts. So let's make this interactive. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us your opinions, your thoughts. First up, Benfica 1, Bayern 0. Benfica starts the lineup that I would say probably most maybe we're surprised about. I don't know if you were, Kenny, but I mean, backline picked itself essentially because Carreras was out, right? So we got Trubin in goal, Antonio Silva, Dahl, Otamendi, and Auschwitz played as a right back. Midfield, Barreiro and Renato Sanchez with Tino being injured, which isn't surprising. Mm-hmm. On the wings, we've got Sheldrup comes in for Akhtur Koglu. Kokshu obviously on the bench. We've got Di Maria on one side. Then we got Pristiani behind Pavlidis. Were you as surprised by, I wouldn't say the whole lineup as a whole. I guess the Sheldrup inclusion in that 11 is a little surprising, but not entirely. Or did anything else stand out for you on that?
No, that was the one that really was kind of like, but I mean, fresh legs, try to change it up a little bit, give some guys a break. I mean, we've all heard the same narrative. These games are played during, the middle of the day, the heat wave, all these things. So I don't think it was like a chain. I don't think we were playing for a tie, right? We had to go in there to play for a win. I just think it was just fresh legs, get someone new out there. He ended up being a great start for him, right? He got the game winning goal. So a little bit of a surprise, but understandable from my perspective.
Fair. And just in time, Oscar joins us.
What's going on, guys?
If we had started at the normal time at 8:30, it would have been early. Something you're not used to being.
It's early here. It's 7:30 right here.
Fair.
Boris, work trip.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Boris says, "Where are you?" Me and Kenny are in Massachusetts. Oscar's in Kansas City at the moment for work, but hopefully we will cross paths in the near future at another Benfica game if all the stars align. But there are a lot of Benfica fans in North Carolina today, Charlotte, like I was saying at the beginning, who are living it up, and I'm kind of jealous in a sense. But
you should have made the 15-hour drive, right?
Seriously, yeah, 15-hour drive isn't too bad. Oscar, I had asked Kenny about the starting 11. We had talked about Carreras and Tino being out, one for yellow cards, one for injury. Sheldrup coming in. Barreiro comes in again as a starter. Kokshu out. Bakturkoglu out. Is there one change there other than the Sheldrup that really jumps out to you, or was it all pretty expected?
I mean, Prestiani is probably the one that surprises me the most. Against Bayern, a physical team, a big team, Prestiani to me is a little kid when I see him against the boy amongst those boys. So he's a shocker because I thought he would use more muscle against Bayern, but obviously the result is what matters, and it penned out. But Prestiani being the first stature is probably the one that surprised me the most.
And if you watched Bruno Lage's press conference yesterday, he had talked about, or it might have been today before the game, talked about the idea of Bayern being a big team, physically, stature-wise. And he joked about it in the pre-match of, we've got a little team, right? Maybe looking for players that are more capable of winning technical duels in small spaces, being able to break on a quick release. And the reality is that we score our goal from something similar to that, right? We're able to work it out of the back, switch the flank, play it across the box, and we're able to put it in the back of the net. Kenny, I'll start with you again here. I guess let's break this up in two, because I feel like two distinct halves. The first half, I think, was very different than the second half for obvious reasons. Obviously, and who was it here? Boris says, good win, but not regular Bayern. Fair.
They had what, 7 changes?
They had 7 changes, right? But when we look at their 11, right, and let's compare apples to apples, right? We've got Manuel Neuer's in, Upamecano, Rafael Guerreiro, Boe, Stanisic, Pelinha, Bischoff, Pavlovic, Gnabry, Sane, and Muller, right? On the bench, you've got Kimmich, who's a starter, Goretzka, who's a starter, Leimer, who's a starter, Musiala, who's a starter, but he got hurt the last game, so I'm not sure he's 100%. Harry Kane, Olise, and Coleman, right? So there's a lot of guys that are out, right? When you look at our 11, right, Dahl's not an out-and-out starter, right? Barreiro's not an out-and-out starter. Renato Sanchez just recently started becoming an out-and-out starter. Sheldrup hasn't been an out-and-out starter. Prestiani's not an out-and-out starter, right? So, yes, it's not the strongest Bayern that we saw against Boca Juniors, right? But Benfica also had a handful of players in their starting 11 that aren't, automatics on the team sheet, right? Now, do Bayern's starters make more of a difference to their team than Benfica's? Yes, right. When you got Olise, a Kane, guys like that on the bench, of course, those are world-class players, right? But I think we also have to look at it in fairness and say Benfica had made some changes too, right? Yes, Bayern's changes probably more impactful, but I get the argument. What's your take on that first half?
Yeah, I it's definitely a tale of two halves, right? I thought the first half was very positive on our end. I thought we played well. I thought we created a few chances that we obviously didn't finish, right? Pavlidis had one, 1-1, Di Maria. So although, and I know we're talking about the first half, although once they made the subs at the beginning of the second half and their team started rounding into, like, they were just kind of flooding us.
Yep.
I thought we had a chance in the first half to also really put that game out of reach, or at least give us enough cushion going into the second half. So I thought, a really good, solid first half from our players. I thought defensively, Otamendi again just shows, that these tournaments, he steps up and plays with that. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but like plays with that like South American style, which is needed for these type of tournaments. Defensively as a collective, I thought we defended really well. And then, again, in the second half, Trubin came up.
I don't
huge.
remember Trubin making a save in the first half. Do you guys?
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't
off the
recall
top
him
of my
making a
head.
save in the first half.
No, there was no shots on net.
Yeah. So like you said, right, I think it was pretty good collective posture for the team in the first half. Oscar, what would you add to that in the first half?
No, I agree. I think our first half, we could have had a few more goals, or if not, well, at least one more.
At least 2-0 at half.
Correct. At least one more goal, I think, would have been fair result. And then obviously, as expected, we were going to try to hold as a result, because a tie would have been enough for us anyways.
Correct.
So we're not going to go killing ourselves and leaving our positions and going to attack this team in the second half. So expectedly, we gave the ball away, and the possession talks for itself. I mean, they had 75% possession compared to us. So like, I mean, I was expecting that. I thought we did well to suffer. Trubin came out huge. Like, this guy had probably the game. Nothing will pass him today.
Probably his best. I would probably say, as a whole, right? First half he didn't do anything, but in terms of impactful saves, I'd probably argue his best game in
he's had some
games. He's had some games where he's had one or two. He had like 4 or 5 today.
Like point
big,
blank.
Big saves, alone breakaways too. Like, that's not like a shots were just from outside the box and hard shots. So breakaways that he basically hockey saves and shit. It was like it was pretty impressive. So yeah, I was expecting the Bayern to go after us in the second half. And I'm just proud that we held in and we defended hard, and especially with the heat that we had that today at the game was crazy. I think it was 100 degrees, whatever it was. Yep. I was proud of Benfica to stuck it through.
Yeah, I agreed. And then second half, we see some changes right at the half. João Pedinha comes out for Kimmich, which is funny. I didn't even realize Pedinha was playing. I saw him on the team sheet, but I didn't realize that he was playing probably until 30 minutes into the game. I don't know if you guys had the same experience.
I didn't catch the lineups. I didn't know he was in till he got subbed out. So
I wasn't the only one. And I'm a fan of his, but I didn't hear the commentator mention him. Nothing. Kane comes in for Bischoff. Gnabry comes off for Olise. That's at halftime. Obviously, Bayern Munich comes in with a little bit more intent. Boris says, sorry, I speak European. What is 100 degrees in Celsius? So they said in Celsius, it was in the sun. It was anywhere between like 40 to 42 degrees Celsius. In the shade, it was like 37 degrees Celsius. But even in the shade, it's humid as hell.
Yeah, the humidity.
So, right, like that's the part that kills you the most. And I think we saw that Prestiani in the first half looked like he was going to have a heat stroke. So it's not easy, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down the line. So second half, Vincent Kompany makes some changes right at the break. We obviously know they're going for it, right? Obviously, Bayern Munich doesn't want to lose this game. A tie is enough for both of us, and like Oscar said, right at this point, we need to be smart in this second half, right? Bayern's going to make some changes. They're going to go for it. There's going to open up space, right? Now, can we take advantage of it? Now, I'll start with you, Oscar. How do you describe that second half?
Ballsy. I mean, there's nothing we can say about it.
Quickly, as our friend A-Rod would say, we just survived.
Yeah, we survived. I mean, and to be honest with you, like, usually these games we don't survive. Like, these games we don't, and just because we held on to the win, is impressive. Like we saw games against Barcelona during the season where we had the game in our hands like 3 times and we let it go. We saw it against Sporting in the final of the cup. We let it go. So to me, it was like it's a matter of time before Bayern puts one in and then the game opens up. And we Trubin, we talked about, Trubin just came out huge, but I'm just so happy that we stuck it through and we held on to that win.
What do you add to that, Kenny?
Yeah, no, it was like you said, just survive, play, just suffer through it and just, try to keep the result. A little bit of luck, some of those Trubin saves were huge. A little luck, is needed there. They did score a goal. It ended up, Kane offsides.
Yep.
Kane missed a ridiculous header right
they
at
ended
the
up
end.
on a fall.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he showed.
But still,
yeah,
I mean,
miss.
Yeah, it was, it's still, to me, even though it's not like a Champions League match or anything, it's still a great result against the Bayern. It's not like
in the first in history too. So let's remember that official game.
Yeah, and I know again that people are going to look, it's not the actual, they didn't start their solid, starting 11, but they still came in the second half. Maybe if they had played the whole game, it would have been a different result. But it is what it is. Like these games, that's why you play them, and it's a great, in my opinion, a great result. I did not think we would come out with a victory today. Didn't think of that at all. I know some of us already had planned the second
place.
Yeah, I was
second place.
Like the thing is, like I should root against everything that Benfica does. Because it goes exactly the opposite direction. I mean, I wanted to tie today, so I could go watch Benfica against Flamengo in Miami, and they fucking win. So from now on, I'm just gonna go the opposite.
There you go. So Saturday, you gotta hope they tie, or
I'm gonna hope Chelsea, or my hope is actually I'm gonna say Chelsea, so the other team can win. I'm gonna go Chelsea. Let's go Chelsea.
Will win today. Second half, I think there's. In my opinion, I thought there was 2 phases of that second half from a Benfica perspective. I thought the first 10 to 15 minutes, I thought it was survival mode. It felt like it took Laj a little bit to really figure out what the hell we needed to change, right? So in the 54th minute, he brings in Aktürkoğlu and Kokshu, takes off Prestiani and Sheldrup. I'll get you guys' opinion, but I'm surprised that Di Maria lasted as long as he did in this game for obvious reasons. The fatigue, the heat, his age. But I'll get to that. And then between the 54th minute and the 78th, which is when Bayrami comes in and he goes to a back 3, I felt in that time period, I felt like we were destined to concede. Like you just felt like we couldn't get out. We couldn't keep the ball. We couldn't do anything. The team looked very uncomfortable. Off the ball, on the ball. And then when he brings Bayrami in, I thought that completely changed the game for us, right? He solidifies that back line with Bayrami, with Otamendi and Antonio Silva. He allows Dahl to come in on the left side, kind of tuck in a little bit more. He's got Auschwitz, right? So when we don't have the ball, we tuck in as a 5 at the back. At that point, I felt like the team just felt more comfortable occupying space. Even when we got the ball, we gave it away cheaply a couple of times, but I just felt like their body language was different. Like before that, I felt like when we lost it, everyone was just kind of like running around like shit. Where do we plug the holes? And when he came in, I felt like everyone's body language just kind of like exhaled, and everyone was like, "All right, we got this, right? Like let's just set this up." And we've done that in the league a few times during the season, so it's not like it's a formation that's new to us. But while I can give some criticism to how it took so long to make that adjustment, right? Because I had said it in our group chat, right? We just kept getting hammered on that left side. Olise just kept going one-on-one with Dahl. And Aktürkoğlu looked like he had run 12 miles by the time he came in. Like he was jogging. There was one play, I had mentioned it to you guys. Renato gets into their box, and Renato gets back to our box before Dahl and Aktürkoğlu, which blew my mind. I'm like, how the hell is that even possible? So while I can criticize the fact that I felt like he took a little bit of while to figure out what the hell he needed to do, I can also give him credit for, while a lot of people would have called for a midfielder right? I saw plenty of people on social media saying, why didn't João Veloso come in? Why didn't Priost come in, right? Why did he bring in another center back? Truth be told, that change for me solidified this team and gave us that opportunity to come away with this win. What did you guys think of those changes, right? Pavlidis comes off at the end. Di Maria comes off at the end. And quickly before I pass it to you, Kenny, I mentioned I'm surprised Di Maria lasted so long.
Yeah.
And you had made the comment also in our group chat. In fairness, I don't know if I've ever seen Di Maria commit so much off the ball like I did today. And when
he almost gave up a PK.
The context of the heat, the fatigue, how much work they're putting in, I mean, I got to give him props, right? Like, would I have had him out there for so long? No. Did he drag his ass around and not put an effort in? No. He was out there. Again, like you said, there was a moment at the edge of the box where he slid once, slid twice, and I was like, oh my God, I had flashbacks at Renato in the Final de Taça. I was like, oh my God, please don't commit a penalty. But fortunately, he didn't get him. With that said, what's your take on that, Kenny?
No, yeah. I mean, he didn't cry today, but he definitely showed that he cared. So
now it matters. Now the crying doesn't matter anymore.
No, I mean, Mike, you said it all. I mean, it was I had never. Yeah, I mean, it's what was it, the 70th minute? Probably in the 80th, right?
He came off in the 86th.
Yeah, I mean, 80th minute, and he's throwing in that kind of effort and hustle. I mean, you don't typically see that. I'm just glad that, he didn't make a stupid mistake and give up a PK at the end. But I agree. I would have taken him out earlier. I mean, we've I already said it, right? I think with the conditions and the heat, you gotta try to protect some of these guys and save some legs. I would have taken Di Maria out sooner, but you called it. That tactical change, 3 in the back, Barami coming in, I think did change or give us that ease in that second 15 minutes of the half, or the last 15 minutes of the half. And it helped us out. I do think maybe he could have done it earlier, but I also think like maybe it was a timing thing, right? He didn't want to bring in those legs too early because you still got to grind it out to the end. And again, with the conditions and everything, I think, Lage does, he's gotten a lot of heat. I think he did well today with the changes in the second half.
Oscar, what do you add to that?
Well, the reason why he takes out Di Maria is because to save him for the season. He doesn't have to save Di Maria for the season anymore. So
fair. Somebody made I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Joan Lamadel said, if he gets hurt, he's not our problem next season.
Correct. So right now could be any game right now could be his last game. So play him. The fans paid to go see Di Maria. He's on every single fucking bulletin board that you can see on the highways. Yeah. So and I think right now, if he gets hurt or if whatever, like I said, it's not our problem. He's putting in his minutes. And if he was sucking or not hustling, I get it, because we have young players on the bench like Bruma and Goveda that can come in and hustle, younger, fresher legs. But he, like you said, he was hustling. So and fans paid to go see him. So no problem.
Fair. Other comments on this game? Here's a question for you guys. Auschwitz plays right back again.
I thought he did well there.
But I
thought he did well too. But the fact that we win against Bayern Munich and no one's talking about the fact that Auschwitz played it right back again, right, goes to tell you something. But my question here is, we've got Leandro Santos on the bench. If we rewind 6 months ago, right, Bruno Lage gives a press conference about right back. I think it was more or less around the time that Ba got hurt. And, questions swirling, who's your right back, blah, blah, blah. Leandro Santos is our right back. We trust him, blah, blah, blah. Yes, he played against Santa Clara, but it's been a while since he's played again. He hasn't played any minutes in this competition. Doesn't play again today. Auschwitz plays out there. Do you think this is more, and I'll open it up to whoever wants to go first. Do you think this is more of a Bruno Lage protecting the player, given his youth, and in my opinion, I still think he's a little bit green? Or do you think it's a lack of trust? How do you guys see it?
I think it's a lack of trust, and he probably sees something that we don't see in practice. I think he thinks he's not ready, even though he said he's all right back, and he probably thought you couldn't get there sooner than he really did. So I think it's a lack of trust. I don't think he trusts him. I mean, we had Freddie, who's probably our best midfielder last year, adapting to right back again.
Yep.
To me, it's like you really can't trust that kid if you do that.
Yeah, and quickly before I pass it to you, Kenny, is I think it's telling that he's Dahl played there, right? From the other side of it, Kenny, how does this come across for the player, right? Yes, he's a youth player, he's still young, but your coach said this publicly 6 months ago that you're the option, right? Now fast forward 6 months and you're not an option, right? You've got a left back and a midfielder playing in that spot over you. Yeah. How do you think a player at that age potentially looks at this? Or, you would assume there's conversations in the background, right? Hey, we're going to do this, going to do that. But how do you think this impacts him?
Yeah, I mean, I think every player is different, right? It depends on his mentality, how he takes it, right? Does it burn a fire under him, or does it, is it one of these guys like like Moreira and some of the other, top talent that came through that, kind of threw it away or wanted to, took it the wrong way. I think Lage has always been kind of a youth guy. He came up through the system. He's coached a lot of kids throughout. I think he has the right mindset on how to treat these situations and treat the youth academy players. So I think I would trust how he approaches that with the young guys. And hopefully the player understands, and the conversations that they're having internally are getting through to him, and hopefully, like I said, burns a fire under him and makes him better.
And a lot of times coaches do say that because they see the talent, they see what they possibly can provide or produce. And then it just doesn't pan out. I mean, if you go rewind back to a few years ago, Jorge Jesus said Nuno Tavares was going to be the next left back, and then the next thing he became was a dog kisser. like what happened?
He is known for that viral video.
Jay ate up that comment in the press conference. He was all for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like just to think about, like, some coaches like say they see talent there, they hype the player up, like, you can do this. You see, I said it to the people all over the world that you can do this, and sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Then they disappoint and make you look bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Closing out this game, I think it goes without saying MVP is the obvious Trubin. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the expectations going into this Club World Cup as a whole versus what you're seeing today. But quickly, I just want to run through some of these comments. Elidio Silva says, Benfica maior, abraço, Elidio. SLBS, everyone's talking about Bayern playing with half their starters. If so, did we? No, Araújo. Oh, I forgot about Araújo. Tino Carreras, Kokshu, Atuloglu. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Those are massive heavyweights for Benfica. Not at like you said, not at the caliber of the Bayern's.
Correct.
But
they're equally as important.
Those are super studs.
Yeah. Agreed. Oscar, I'm going to leave this one for you. Great result, says Ricky, not because of the score, but avoiding the great Flamengo squad was the goal today. What do you say to that, Oscar?
To Joaquin, I might ask these guys, Joaquin. I was begging for Bayern to score a goal so I could see this game.
He was.
I
contemplated kicking him out of our group chat because he was rooting against Benfica.
I want a Flamengo and Benfica in Miami, and I wish you came down, my friend. I wish you came down. I would have said right next to you.
Club World Cup in the U.S. There's been a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of empty stadiums. There's been a lot of delays with weather. Questionable times for kickoff. I guess, Kenny, I'll start with you. How do you describe kind of this, right? This is the kind of the first time they've created this format for the Club World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched other podcasts and people are complaining that, why do they do it in the United States? It's expensive. It's this, it's that. And to some extent I say, right, like, yes, soccer's not a top 3 sport here in the US. I mean, let's call a spade, right? So that in itself has a huge impact. The whole expensive thing drives me crazy, right? Because it's like these Europeans should figure out how much it costs us to fly to Europe, right? And do all that stuff, right? Like it's equally as expensive for us, just like it is for them to come here. But how do you look at it in terms of kind of the global of the structure, the organization of this, from the times of the games to the locations of the games, ticket sales? They had to lower the ticket prices because they weren't selling. We've had stadiums where, very few people in the stadium. So how would you sum up kind of this experience so far?
I mean, there's a lot of points to hit with this. I feel like, so like just some of the things that like stand out to me is like, a game like today with Bayern and Benfica, I feel like anywhere else, these are two historic clubs, you would see more fans in the audience, and I don't think it doesn't translate here in the U.S. Whether there's not fans of these specific teams here in the U.S. or the Europeans aren't traveling or whatever the case may be. It's very rare to see, a half empty stadium for a game like this, right? In Champions League, middle of the work week, this is a sold out game. I feel like anywhere else. So it's just an odd way to look at it. Now, the South American teams have had huge following. And I think that has to do with probably proximity to the U.S., easier travel, more South Americans in the U.S. in general. So those games have been probably like the ones that stand out the most, and have that atmosphere that you'd like to see. So those are some of the things that I've noticed. Like having it in the U.S., great for us, right? Like it's rare for us to get involved in these type of tournaments, right? When do you get an opportunity to see Benfica come to the U.S. or
for an official game?
For an official game, exactly. They used to do those friendlies in the summer, right? But those weren't really official. They were kind of like training games. Yeah. So this is like great for us. But the timing of it, I do find it odd. Like these 3:00 games for this last round of games, even in the next stages, like the games they should pile these up more in the evening, prime time.
6 and 9 should be the 2 times.
Exactly. Like it is. You've seen it, in the games that I've seen. Like even Porto, like I can't believe they were going back and forth in that Porto game, scoring, with those goals. But like you could see that, like especially the Porto players, they were gassed. Like they were like falling over on the field. Benfica today, Prestiani was struggling. Like it's not healthy for the players. So I think that those are things that could have been changed. And then the facilities, right? So I don't know how the selection of the stadiums were, but like you have indoor arenas here that you could be using, especially in the summer. I mean, I think Atlanta's hosting games. That's an indoor arena. They could have utilized maybe some more in the West Coast. A lot of those are indoor stadiums.
So the purpose of the location selection was specific mostly for the East Coast, with the Gold Cup being mostly on the West Coast, mainly because they wanted to align the FIFA Club World Cup matches and times more with the European time zone, right? For them to be able to see it more, opposed to the other way around. So that's what I had read previously, is they tried to focus more, although there are some Club World Cup games in Seattle, in California. But if you look at it, most of them are on the East Coast, I think it's mainly because of that.
And was that also thought about, like having the Gold Cup going on during the same time? Like, it's a lot of football, right? And you're oversaturating it. I don't think those games are getting any viewer. I mean, I haven't watched any of them. So in a situation where like you're hosting all this in the U.S. and soccer isn't big here, it's not a good look in my opinion. So those are just a couple of things I noticed.
Fair.
Yeah,
hold on before I pass it to you, Oscar. I just want to read some comments here on Instagram. We've got Tony Ramellet says we need another left back. We can touch on that before we jump off. Ruben Costa, that's a long name. I can't read it all because there's no spaces. But he says, Olá da Alemanha, grande Benfica, abraço, Ruben. Mauro says, Benfica, abraço, Mauro. And we've got Ruben, não é só futebol, é amor eterno. All right, Oscar.
What was I saying?
About the World Cup.
Yeah, but
And
I
you've
forgot
been to
about
2 games, right?
Huh?
So you've got a different perspective, right? I was with you in Miami.
it. Yeah.
We saw, right, what Kenny talks about the South Americans, right? A lot of Boca fans, right? The environment in that stadium. When you think about world football and environments and stadiums, right? I would easily say Boca, the Bombonera, is one of the ones that you would naturally think of. And I felt like we saw a little piece or a little portion of what, the experience that the Bombonera is in Miami. But then on the flip side of that, you went to Orlando, right, against an Auckland City, which is, a very unknown team, semi-pro / amateur team, right? So you experienced 2 kind of sides of each seesaw.
Yeah.
How would you describe your expectation versus what you've seen?
No, I think you guys touched up on it, but when you have too much of a thing, then you don't concentrate on it too much, right? So if you have a lot of choices, a lot of games going on, like if I miss this one, I go to the next one. If you have teams that like amateurs or some semi-professional team and mixed with Bayern Munich's and Juventus and teams like in team Real Madrid's and stuff of the world, then you really don't. I think it doesn't drive the fans to go to these games, especially like Kenny said. You legit have CONCACAF going at the same time. You have these and then in the middle of the day, like people are working right now during the day. It's 2:00 in the afternoon here when Benfica was playing. No chance. I legit was had my AirPods on and I was listening to the game and I was like, dude, every other second I was being interrupted. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Like we don't have that time luxury to just take days off and go fill up stadiums. That doesn't work like this in here. So it was bad planning. I don't think it's U.S. is the place to do this kind of stuff. Portugal, the people will take the day off just to go watch the games. You know what I mean? Like that.
The whole month's a holiday.
Correct. So they just take the whole thing off. Like, hey, Benfica's playing this month. I'm just gonna whatever.
But I don't think it's I understand what you're saying, but I think it's more of a cultural thing than the location, right? Because I mean, let's say that there's an NFL game at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. You can guarantee that games.
But it's packed. But remember, NFL games are once a week, or especially for that things. It's not like 4 games, 5 games in one day. All right.
But do you think they'll run into this? Like, I don't think they'll run into this issue in the World Cup next year.
No, the World Cup will be fine because again, they'll play one game a day or a few games.
No, it'll be the same concept. You'll still have 3-4 games during the group stage.
But it's different. That's on a national level.
Correct. You're gonna get more people behind one team.
Right.
Yeah.
Fans are gonna.
It's more diluted.
And I think like, well, you can't guess on what teams are gonna go through because obviously you don't know if. I mean, I guess the group stage you kind of figure that out beforehand. So putting a Bayern against Benfica and Charlotte, where I don't think a lot of Germans or Portuguese live.
Like Jersey
is another situation where like why the stadium wasn't full. If you put this game in New Jersey, it's gonna get packed. Yeah. So planning on like maybe let's figure out where these teams have fans and put them playing in those locations because if you don't like play Benfica against Auckland City in Orlando, I was expecting to be legit like the only fan there, probably with a flyer saying, "Hey, I'm made it on TV now." I finally made it.
You did get a lot of showcase over there.
You did.
I did. I got interviewed and everything.
Seriously.
I was probably the only fan
like
there.
So how hot? I do want to add. I want to. How hot was it? Because you took your shirt off. Like it was like
I didn't take a shirt. Gabriel did.
Biggie.
Oh, Gabriel.
Biggie took his shirt off after the game. And
yeah,
that was
it was.
I'm talking about
it was hot.
In Orlando was not bad because
it cooled off too. You had the rain.
It did cool off. It rained in the middle of the game. Like so at halftime we legit had to leave the stands for 2 hours because it was thundering, and then it cooled off the whole game. And then Benfica started smashing because of that. I think
I will say in Miami, it wasn't so much the heat; it was the humidity. We were outside
during the game.
Stadium.
You thought so?
Not during the game, no, because we were in the shaded side of the stadium.
It
wasn't so bad. When we were outside, like we're in line trying to get a beer, and it was like you would have thought it was like the fountain of youth. Like every spot that there was like a little area for beer, like it was literally like everyone was there. Like, do you have water? Do you have water? Do you have this? Like I could feel the sweat dripping all the way down my back. It was brutal. So I can't imagine what it was like today, especially in that stadium where there's no shade.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Bank of America Stadium has literally zero shade. Playing in that heat, it's brutal. DJ Infinite says, I think the schedule should have been catered towards the U.S. fans. The European fans can watch during the season every weekend. If you want to expand the game in America, that's the way to do it. I get that, right? And I think you guys touched on that, right? Is having games a little bit later, right? But again, the impact you have there is the fact that it's much later in Europe for them to be able to follow their teams, which let's call it what it is. That's where the biggest market is.
Yeah, but that's the global, like when the World Cup was in Japan, I mean, we were watching games at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yep. So that's just part of why, like, we get a chance.
Correct, but how many people in America do you think were doing that is the question, right? Because I think
fair,
like we had talked about in the group chat earlier, I think for as much as we want to say and argue, I don't think in our lifetime soccer will be a top 3 sport in this country. I don't even know if it'll ever be that.
It'll not be.
No, it doesn't have it. There's been enough years have gone by to show that it's just not the draw that it is. I mean,
correct.
Everyone can keep pointing out to that the MLS is expanding, that the attendance is rising, but it's not. You still don't see that same. It's still not the same, and a lot of it is subsidized by corporate America, right, and the league
all
itself, and so it's not the same. It's not going. I don't think it'll get there. Not in our lifetime.
I don't think so either. Tony Remenyet says it was way too hot today. I was at the game. I feel for the players. Yeah, I can't imagine what the heck that was like.
Can we talk about that though? Like, because that's one thing too that they've like. Everyone says, "Oh, well, all the players are playing it," but I think there is an advantage to the South American teams. Have a little bit of an advantage.
They're active playing right now. They're during the league,
right? And I think they're probably used to playing in some of this heat. Maybe not as high as right now, but in these type of temperatures. I heard. I forget who it was in one of the interviews were saying like it is hard to play in this heat where like the whole like stopping and going and get going again is difficult to do in this humidity, right? As a player, and I think it's definitely affecting the European team. It's not just the small ones like Porto, or not small ones, but like the Portos or the Benficas, but even Bayern, they get exhausted too. And the Chelsea's, I mean, they lost 3-1 to Flamengo, right?
Yep.
So
after
like
being up 1-0.
So it's affecting, even the bigger clubs. You're seeing the effect of the heat.
It's not only that, like mentally, when the league ends in Portugal or in Europe, like PSG, they won the Champions League, they won the league. Mentally, they're ready to go on vacation. Like now they have to come here for something brand new that they never did before. They have to come here and play another tournament. So mentally, they're checked out, and now they have to come here and play a tournament. And while elite teams in Brazil and Argentina, they're playing right now, actively playing. So they're coming in like with the mentality, let's go kick ass, right? Let's go play. And so it takes a little while for these European teams to get back in rhythm after the league just ended. I mean, Otamendi alone has been, I think, 70. How many months? He hasn't had a week off, and
since he like probably
went to his daughter since Quintanilla or whatever the fuck you call it. It's probably that's the only vacation he took in the last year and a half. So it's crazy.
And that's a good segue. Is right this South America versus Europe debate. As I mentioned in the intro, the internet minions have taken over Kenny's social media algorithm and have just completely turned it upside down. He went from golf videos and cute, funny videos of babies doing crazy things on his social media streams to now all these debates about who's better, South American teams or European teams. And I feel like, and I don't know if you guys agree, right? I mean, we've got a good example of it in the group chat or in the chat here, right? Joaquin, he's even switched his social media profiles to comment, right? He started on Facebook. Now he's on his YouTube channel. Are you guys going to mention how lucky you guys are not having to play Flamengo? I feel like in my opinion, I feel like it's almost like a sense of the inferiority complex, right? Like,
They have a
oh
chip
my
on their
God,
shoulder.
everyone always talks about the Champions League. No one talks about the Libertadores, blah, 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 right? And now they come to this tournament, and it's like, okay, this is our opportunity, right? And like, Botafogo survived and beat PSG, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, well, PSG won the Champions League, Botafogo won the Libertadores, Botafogo beat PSG, so that means Botafogo is the best team in the world.
I had
at the
a
moment.
1 minute reel on my Instagram of that Botafogo was the new Champions League winners. It was like a minute long.
And I feel like this is more like and Luis Enrique touched on it in his press conference this week, where he was like, I don't understand where this debate's coming from. Like, most of these European teams have Argentinian players, Uruguayan players, Brazilian players, right? And they're great teams, and these players are great. So I don't understand where this debate keeps coming from of like the South American teams are better than the European teams. And not to mention, like you said, Oscar, they're in mid-season form, right? They're 15, 20 games into their season.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the European teams are 40, 50, 60 games into their season, depending on how far they went in Europe, right? Like, so you've played half the games, right? And like, then you're going to gloat about like, well, we're better. Okay, well, why don't you go run 10 miles, right? And I'll run a mile to warm up, and then we'll race, right? And then we'll see who's got a better opportunity to win. Obviously, if you run less, you've got a better opportunity of being more successful. I'll let you go first, Kenny.
Oh man.
Do you also see it as again, in my opinion, I feel like it's an inferiority complex.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, 100%. You can see it in that first game. Like, I know the Boca Juniors game. I think that's where it all started. I started getting, watching reels on Benfica, and then the Boca thing happened, and then it just snowballed to just completely took over my social media on just Brazilian news media, Argentinian media. Like, it just flooded my accounts. But yeah, I mean, you could see it in that first game. Like, they obviously have that style of play, that aggressive style of play. And they do play with that chip on the shoulder because they're always hearing about how great the Europeans are, and they feel like the little brother down in South America. And it's not to say that they're not good quality teams. They're historic clubs, and they deserve their credit. But when you're comparing apples to apples, you just can't, because again, like you mentioned, like we're through a whole entire season. The gas tank is almost empty, and you guys are midway through your season, and you still got more energy and more miles to go. It's just not the same. It's just not equal.
And then not only that, look, Palmeiras has probably been the best team in Brazil for the last 5 years, like taking, whatever. Palmeiras couldn't beat the worst Porto in the history of fucking Porto, right?
Yeah.
In our lifetime.
So, like, legit. Like, and then we saw last year Palmeiras barely beat an Inter Miami. That's an MLS team. Or not beat, tied. Okay, they were about to lose, and then barely tied that game, right? So, like, and Palmeiras is like supposedly the best team in Brazil for the last 5 years. Botafogo won it last year, but Palmeiras has been running that league for the last 5 years.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So Flamengo, let's see what they do against Bayern. That's their big test, like how they come through. And then if they beat Bayern, then they will lose to PSG. Let's see how they do it.
Yeah,
and even like Boca, I know Boca wasn't like top notch, right? I guess they've had their struggles. They didn't win a game in the group stage. They didn't beat a semi-professional team that Bayern and Benfica stuck 7+ goals on them. So it's like, there is a difference of quality between the two sides, and I think maybe I guess I am biased, but like the European style is definitely more technical than the South American, and it's probably going to be controversial, and I'm probably going to get chewed up in the chat group, but it is what it is. It's an opinion.
Let's just say, like, who was it? Luis Felipe is who's coach now? Flamengo's, right?
Flamengo. Yep.
Flamengo. What did he say in the interview? Like, just listen to your coach.
Correct.
Listen to your coach.
Yeah.
He's played in Europe. He knows exactly what it is. Listen to your coach, and he coaches you guys. And he basically said Europeans are the levels above
Correct.
Brazilian football. So listen to
Yeah.
him. He knows better than you guys.
And I think, again, it's a different type of game, right? And I think we witnessed that firsthand in the stadium, Boca versus Benfica. And the Boca coach said it himself that not many European teams are able to match the South American grit and aggression in their style of play. And he said the ones that come closest to matching that type of play from an Argentinian perspective are the Brazilian teams. He said the Brazilian teams typically can get close to that level, but he was like, in Europe, it's very hard for them to match that. So that's where we need to grab hold of. That needs to be the foundation of our game plan, right? And if we ever saw the foundation of that game plan in practice at Miami Stadium, Benfica Boca, I mean, it was just a clear template of what that was. It was, I mean, from the onset, I mean, Di Maria got run over 2 or 3 times, right? And I think because he's Argentinian and all that stuff maybe played into it a little bit. But let's be honest, like, there were some challenges in that game that left you wondering, like, are we watching a soccer game? Or are we watching like UFC? Like, what the hell was going? And I get it. That's how they play in South America, right? But as you touched on, Kenny, it's a completely different game. And I respect it, right? That's how they play. That's how they've built it. Fine, right? But like, it's night and day in comparison to what we see in Europe. And I agree. I can't wrap my head around this debate. It doesn't make sense to me. Just to touch on some of the comments that Joaquin's made in the comments, dating back to 2000, I went and looked at this. Dating back to 2000 as it relates to the Club World Cup, right? The format was different many years ago. Since 2000, if I'm not mistaken, the last South American team to win this competition was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe 13 of the winners have been European. I'm actually going to search this quickly so I don't tell any lies. Did I send that list yesterday, Kenny, or was it the day before that? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
We've got South American versus European finals, Club World Cup, 13.
Can you name the finals? Because I want to see if Flamengo ever makes it and how much they get crushed by.
South American winners, 3. 10 European winners and 13 European versus South American finals. And again, the format of this competition was different back then, right? I feel like this format's much more difficult because you've got to go through a group stage. You've got a lot more to do, whereas previous formats was like 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams, right? Smaller format, you win, and the better teams, right? The European teams didn't join until like the semifinals and the finals. Overall, last South American win versus a European team was 2012. Corinthians beat Chelsea 1-0, right? So it's been 13 years since the South American team beat a European team in this competition. The 3 winners of the European versus South American finals were all Brazilian. And the losers, 5 were Brazilian, 1 was Ecuadorian, and 4 were Argentinian. Overall, 16 UEFA winners of this competition and 4 CONMEBOL winners. I mean,
speaks for
the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to look at the scoreboard and see what the numbers show.
Yeah. So I don't understand this debate.
Can you, Mike? So I'm looking at some of the comments. So I probably used the wrong word. The European game is more technical. Yes, that one right there. So I misrepresented that, right? So I probably want to say that the European game is more technical in the form of like it's more organized.
Tactics, not technical.
It's buildup of play, organization. South America, and I don't watch a lot of South America, but when I do, I don't see that same build-up play, right? It's more kick and run or individual player
or dribbles. A lot of dribbles. And
I've seen some Brazilian games where like literally players are just sitting on the ball, not doing it. It's just like stop and go.
Yeah.
There is no organization, right? So like that's what I mean. Like the quality of the European game is just more developed in an essence. And again, it's just a style of play. That's all it is. Because, like, yes, you're right. We do struggle. Benfica struggled against Boca in that aggression and that grit and that fight style. But to me, it's a style of football. It's not the style of football that I'm used to or that I like to see. Right. So
I like to ask Joaquin a question. Why is it that it takes a European coach to go there and is basically put into the game of the Brazilian technical game the tactics that they don't have? And they all say it. Well, since Jesus came, since Abel Ferreira came, the game has changed. That became more technical, not technical, tactical. Right?
Yeah,
so it's different.
Artur Jorge was there one season and he won Libertadores.
Yeah, so what these European coaches bring to the Brazilian game and mix those things together makes them competitive. I get it, but once they become competitive, they leave. Once they become anywhere good enough, at Chelsea goes and gets him. Steve Van from Palmeiras, he's gone because he's somewhat good. You know what I mean? Like let's get the kid out of here. So they'll never be the team like, oh shit, I'm scared of Palmeiras or Flamengo, because as soon as somebody offers them $100, they run to Europe.
I will say this comment from Joaquin. I can agree when he says more technical, best players. He's got Lautaro in here, Luis Diaz, Vinny, Rodrigo. Okay, technical players.
He puts Lautaro there, and it basically just kills his freaking thing. Lautaro technical.
I'll give him that one. Putting Rodrigo de Paul in a sentence saying technical, I'm sorry, but you lose a bit of credibility. Rodrigo de Paul is not a technical player. Rodrigo de Paul is a destroyer,
he's a physical player,
physical guy. Give the ball, just lay it off. Like, he's not technical.
He's more of a messy bodyguard than he is a soccer player.
He's the template of what South American football is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And can I just say to that point, right? Like, yes, a lot of South Americans in Europe at the top clubs, but these players come here and they become like even better players. Whereas if they just continued in South America, do you think they would develop their game to be top players in the world? Because the European game is just, I don't want to say I don't want to like sound rude, right? It's just better.
Can you just say it?
It just develops the player better. Like
and probably only like 30% pin out. Not all of them. Like watch Cebolinha, or not Cebolinha, what the hell is his name? Picanha go back to Brazil, Botafogo, and be a superstar, and then Benfica couldn't fucking.
But you made a good example. Cebolinha was an international playing for Brazil,
and couldn't do it.
Right? Came to Benfica and he couldn't adapt. Right, and just like Brazilians, it could be Argentinians, and you could say the same thing. We don't see it often, right? You don't see many Europeans doing well and then go to Brazil, right? You don't see that transition often, right? And if we had enough sample sizes, we could probably say the same thing. But there's many that make that jump and are studs in South America and then just can't adapt when they get to Europe, right? And there's a lot of elements that play into that, right? Context, family, style of play.
And look an example. Suarez, he was in Europe and he was basically already getting, kicked off teams and whatnot. He went to Grêmio, became their best player in Brazil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then forced his way out of the contract so he can go play with Miami.
Yeah. at what age? 35 years old when he went to Brazil and he became the best player in Brazil?
Oh, man. Joaquin must be typing up a storm.
Isn't Sergio Ramos in Monterrey?
Yeah, Monterrey, Mexico. Let me just read through some of these.
Not really talking about Brazil, but it's also Latin America. Look at the Sapo do Paulinho that was in Sporting. He became a stud.
Crushing it at Toluca. Oh, yeah. Is it Toluca or Pachuca? Toluca.
Yeah, whatever. Like he's playing Toluca, that, but he became a stud there. He became like Ronaldinho Gaúcho was fucking playing there.
Let me see some of these comments quickly, and then we'll go through the next stage. DJ Infinite says, "Can we talk about Benny Beats going viral?" I don't know if you guys saw the video, but Ben, who was DJing with Andrew at our party, have you guys seen the video of the Benfica fan exchanging a scarf and a hat?
Yeah,
that was Ben.
Was it? Oh no, shit.
That video. When I saw it, I sent it to him. Like, dude, is this you?
What Ben? Who's Ben?
Ben Cabral. He was the one that was he DJ'd with Andrew at our party.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, when I saw the video, I'm like, dude, it definitely looks familiar. And then I sent it to him. And he was like, yeah, it's me. Now I see it all over social media.
Talking about exchanging fair play, I was at the Auckland game with I guess Benfica, and I hope he doesn't listen to this. But Zagarreta was with me, right? And he had a Benfica hat, really nice Benfica hat. The guy comes to him and goes, "You want to switch trade?" And Zach goes, "Hell no." He's like, "What the fuck is
that?" Brutal.
It's because it was blue, the guy can't stand blue.
Possibly. Yeah. Let's see. Tiago says the officiating has also sucked in this tournament.
Oh, I talked about that too.
I think it's funny because a lot of the questionable performances that I've seen are non-European referees. Again, because they're used to that style, right? The game that Boca Juniors versus Benfica, the referee was Mexican, right? So again, like it's just a completely different style, different, right? There's many little fouls and ticky-tacky fouls that they'll call in Europe that in Latin America and South America, they're like, no, get up, dude. Yeah, right. So like I can appreciate some of that, but there's like some of them like past the
just
line.
barreling over guys. Yeah.
Dude, like what the hell's going on? Boris says the Mexican referee ruined the Benfica Boca Juniors game.
At least guaranteed 2 more penalties that I don't know how the VAR or
Pavlidis one and the Di Maria one are pretty clear cut. Let's see what else we got. SLBS says European academies have increased drastically in value in the past 10 to 15 years. That's true. South America will always be a selling market to Europe, and that's fine. But even Portugal is a selling market to the rest of Europe. So I think it's similar. Rui says the Paul is so porrada. Yeah, but Joaquin thinks he's technical.
And before you read the next comment, I saw somewhere that was a Flamengo that is probably one of the top teams spending money wise on their like spending money on players. Like
they got the Portuguese guy now there.
Yeah, including in Europe, like they spent over like 80 million on players or something like that. And I'm like, so they have money to spend. They just can't keep the players. I'm not sure how.
Rui says, let's get to the point, guys. Soccer infrastructure in Europe is light years ahead of South America. That's the reason why when young South American players show a little talent, they get picked up by European clubs. And if they work hard and trust the process, they usually become great. Again, like Prestiani is a good example of that, right? 17 years old. We scooped him up from Vélez. Rollheiser, same thing, right? Showed a little bit of talent, got scooped up, and now he's back in Europe or back in South America, right? It's just the nature of the game, and I don't see it changing. If it was going to change, I feel like it would have already changed with all the investment and the visibility in Europe, right? You don't hear players say, my dream is to play the final of the Libertadores. Like, right? Most players, young players, are, my dream is to play the final of the Champions League. My dream is to play at the Bernabeu. My dream is, right? Yes, it's different, but again, I think it's an open debate. It'll never go away. But I feel like there's an obvious difference here. But again, to each their own. It's an opinion ultimately.
What about the comment with the Brazilian national team? Did you see that one? South American football deteriorated. Boris mentioned it.
Hold on, I got it. How far up is that? You can click on it if you see it. You should be able to post it if you see it.
I can't. But he says,
I got it.
Yeah, has deteriorated a lot over the years. Just look at the Brazilian national team, right? So, like, well, that's another good example of, that it's not just. Yeah, I mean, Mike, what do you think about that? I
agree. I mean, when was the last time Brazil won? Right, we grew up in times where Brazil was the powerhouse, right? I mean, the country's huge. They've got a lot of players to choose from. It's their number one sport. I mean, volleyball's big in Brazil too, but soccer, I mean, hands down the biggest sport in Brazil, right? So you've got a huge pool to pick from. We grew up, with some of the best Brazilian players, right? And even before us, right? And now you look at it, and what was the last time they won? 2002 in Korea, right? With Ronaldo and that weird haircut. Right. And they haven't won anything since from a World Cup perspective. Right. And this is a nation that won 5 World Cups in their history. So I think that's a good point. Right. And that doesn't say that Brazil doesn't have quality players, because Brazil has a lot of quality players. Right. But then when you bring them all together, and I think part of that problem is you've got a lot of players that are playing in Brazil. I feel like, and I could be wrong, and if anyone in the comments can fact check me on this, or if you guys have a different opinion, I feel like when we were growing up, the great Brazil teams, most of the core of the Brazilian teams were playing in Europe.
Yeah.
Most of the core of the Brazilian players were playing in Europe.
Let's just think of the last time they won it. I think the 11 starters were European players.
Right. Whereas today, I feel like a lot of the Brazilian, or majority of them, play in Brazil. Right. So is that something to look at?
Right.
Right. I think that could be an interesting analysis to do, is those teams of old, how many of them were playing in Europe, right? And has that impacted Brazil as a collective on the field in terms of the gameplay, right? Because now, are they playing more of a South American style, right, versus what they were playing in years past, right? Obviously, a Brazilian fan can probably tell me I'm an idiot and I'm wrong, or can validate that. But that's the perception that I get. And that's a good point, right? Like the deterioration of the Brazilian national team, who was a powerhouse and now is, we've got A-Rod in our group who, every time there's an international competition, he's like, fuck, I hate this team. I don't even want to watch them anymore. So how times have changed, right? When we were growing up, when we were at school, we were like, fuck Brazil, man. I don't want to play against Brazil. Meanwhile, now it's like, oh, okay, great. Brazil. Who are they going to lose to? So I think that's a good point. I don't know if you want to add to that, Kenny or Oscar.
No, I thought when I saw that comment, I thought it was a good point, and I agree with you. I think I don't know if that was a shift in their program where they wanted to select more Brazilian league players. But if it was, and that is the case, then I think there is something to say to maybe it is that style of play that is brought their form down, or whatever the case may be. Now, again, I'm not saying that I would love for, Benfica to have that grit, right? Like we see it in the Portuguese league. When we go play Porto, that aggressive style of play, we don't match up well, right? And I would like that grit and that aggressiveness style, but there's a blend between the two styles that you need to have, and it just wouldn't fit in Europe. Just só jogar a porrada, that style of play wouldn't work.
No, I think another thing is major with the, I don't know why we're talking about so much about Brazil, but like we're just talking about Latin America compared to European.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like what Brazil lost, other than the European infrastructure or the technical stuff that they learned in Europe. They now with the Brazilian tactics is a little different. It's more like Kenny said, more like joga bonito instead of like play, organized soccer. But another thing is they lost a leader. They don't have the Ronaldinho of the world. They don't have the Cafus of the world. Somebody that can comandar respeto. They don't have the Otamendi's like Argentina does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They have. I think the leader now, Neymar is obviously not there anymore. He's always hurt. And the leader, Casemiro, is their leader.
I think is the captain.
Huh?
Marquinhos, I think, is their captain.
Oh yeah, Marquinhos, I guess, somewhat owns is somewhat of a leader, but like Brazil's used to like I look at Brazil, and I think Cafu, I think Ronaldo, I think Rivaldo.
They had more leaders.
Yeah, so right now they're not intimidating, and they don't have a lot of pool to pull from in Europe either. Like that Vinny Jr. What else do they have? Rodrigo, the guy from Real Madrid, that basically lost the spot to whoever just came in, Mbappe, whatever. So like. It's tough. They don't have that pool that they once had, that you can just legit make a team on one league in Europe. You can make a Brazilian team.
100%. They definitely don't own soccer, football the way when we grew up. It was Brazil owned soccer. I mean, you would go into a World Cup, Brazil's going to be in the semis. Like it was automatic, right? And now that is not the case anymore. No. You look at Germany, Spain, they're going to be in the semis, right? So it's definitely changed, and it changed pretty fast.
It did. All right, quickly.
Mike, can I touch on one other thing? I also saw another note. This was further up, but the broadcasting of the games. I also think the not televising the games on, national TV.
I think they do one on TNT, but that's it. Like they do.
I think they do like one a day or something.
Yeah, they did Benfica today on TNT.
But how do you expect to grow the game when you're not going to show the games? Like
on a
that's
normal
just
cable, on cable
on
TV.
normal cable TV, 100%. Like that is just silly. And then, the younger generation downloading the apps, the zone getting, that's easy for us. But like, I also find it inconvenient. I mean, it's convenient. You can throw it on your phone. You're at work, whatever. But the fact that like they just throw flush these apps down your throat. And then, they try to trick you. I talked to you about this. Like I logged in, one of the first games, and I'm clicking to try to, and it's the premium one. Like they're just trying to trick you into they get the rights to then try to get you to get the premium. And it's just such such a stupid situation to be in. But that's a huge thing too, is like, how do you expect to grow the game if you're not going to show the games on cable TV?
But we run into that. Well,
yeah.
I mean, the zone's giving it away for free, but let's be honest. If you follow the footprints, the zone, there was a huge injection from Saudi organizations of millions of dollars just before the zone announced that they were giving it away for free. So, I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together and figure out why this is being given away for free, right? They got paid somewhere. But I agree with you, right? Like, even for us, like the app is a nuisance. Like it doesn't work that great. It's not very responsive. The UI isn't very intuitive. But then on the flip side of that, right, when we talk about broadcasting and selling it to the American public to grow the game, I mean, look no further than how many times have you tried to watch a U.S. men's national team game and it's on Univision, or a non-American
English
channel,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the game is in our country, and U.S. isn't even playing against Mexico. And the game, there's no American broadcasting company that buys the rights for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to anyone? Right.
No.
So, I mean, again, I think that in itself just tells us that there isn't that much interest, as much as people want to believe there is, in the game, whether that's physically in the stadium or virtually sitting on your couch watching the game. That's the reality of it. I mean, we can keep trying to pull the sheets over our eyes, but it's the reality.
And just to think, like, they first of all, they do all this to kind of almost make it impossible for fans to go in the stadium, and then they have tickets at fucking skyrocket prices that people can't legit look at. The fuck is this? Like, we're gonna go watch a Boca Juniors Benfica, and I'm paying over $200 for corner seats, and then it comes game time, and I can buy them for fucking $80.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. And then the other way is like it's smart on their end, but it's stupid because we think it's going to be a sold out. So they open up sections, buy corner sections first, buy this section first, and then we're all like, shit. These are
because they were banking on all of those sponsors and all those big wigs, and that didn't end up panning out.
But you think shit. My train of thought was like, shit, let me get 4 tickets right now, because if the only tickets available are the corner, that means the other stuff is already all taken, right? So they trick you to buy corner tickets, and then 100%. They sell fucking middle seats even cheaper.
The middle section behind the benches at the Boca Benfica game was empty. It was basically just family and stuff. There was no one there. Quickly to wrap this up, Tiago says, try explaining to your dad over the phone how to download and create an account to watch. So dumb. This is very true. Impossible for those of us. Those of us who have immigrant parents who aren't very tech savvy. This is not easy. Elidio says, bom programa, mas não falam em treinadores portugueses em todo o mundo. Benfica vende notícias. Let's see, abraço a vocês. Quem vier não tenho medo só do árbitro. Desde que não seja o árbitro mexicano que tivemos no primeiro jogo, pode vir qualquer um. Abraço para si, Elidio. Quickly, 30 seconds. Kenny, what do you expect in the next round? Currently, Chelsea is tied 0-0 with Esperance de Tunisie. Colosso Mundial. Must be a tough game for them. I would be interested to look at the team value. Chelsea's team value is upwards of $1 billion, and this Esperance de Tunisie is probably worth.
Are they an African team?
Tunisia. Yep.
Tunisia. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the expectation is that we're going to face Chelsea.
Yeah.
Possibility that we could take on a Tunisian team, which would be best case scenario.
Right.
But what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, look, my expectation starting once the groups were figured out, right, was getting out of the group. I think coming second, by the way, so already above my expectation coming in first out of the group. Now it really is a toss-up. I mean, obviously getting an upset today and having Esperance beat Chelsea would be amazing. I think that would give me better expectations moving on to the quarterfinals. Is it round of 16?
It's the round of 16 now, so we'd go to the quarters.
But if we get Chelsea, look, I mean, Chelsea has, I don't know, they're still like hit and miss to me. I don't know how to. I didn't watch any of their games in the group stage, but it is obviously a more difficult match. I would hope that we can get into the quarterfinals, regardless of the team, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I've seen, like, I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, but if we get Chelsea, I'm not scared. I'm not. I'm not, and that's a worst case scenario. And then after that, we're gonna get a Brazilian team. So I want to welcome Joaquin to come back.
Yeah, we can get Palmeiras or Botafogo.
I want Joaquin to come back if that happens to discuss this pre-game and kind of make some bets.
Did all 4 Brazilian teams make it?
So right now, we've got the team of the groups that are already finalized. Palmeiras, Inter Miami is in. PSG, Botafogo. Atletico was eliminated, a European team. Porto eliminated, a European team. Sounders, MLS. Al Ahly, Egypt. Benfica, Bayern are in. Boca Juniors, Argentina. South American and New Zealand team out. Flamengo's already in. Chelsea or Tunisia are going to be in. LAFC is already out. River Plate and Inter Milan top their group right now with 4 points. Monterrey could still get in. Fluminense with 4. Borussia Dortmund with 4. Mamelodi Sundowns with 3. So there you could have an African, a European, and a Brazilian. Group G, Juventus, Manchester City are in. Now they're just fighting for first place. The other 2 are out, Wydad AC and Al Ain. Juventus and Man City could be the only teams. One of them can be the only team to complete 3 out of 3 in the whole tournament. No one's gotten 9 points. No one can get 9 points apart from them. And then Real Madrid with 4 points, Salzburg with 4 points, Al Ahly with 2, and Al Hilal with 2, and Pachuca's out with 0 points. So 2 Europeans and 1 Saudi team there. So
okay.
Let's see quickly. Let me just see this. Chelsea sucks is what Tiago says. Boris says, thank you for an exciting conversation. See you at the final. Boa noite, viva Benfica. We could make finals run in the standings. Don't change for other groups. Yeah, should be interesting. See how this pans out. Let's go watch the second half of this Chelsea Tunisia game. Just for context, Esperance Tunisia market value of their team, 20.4 million. Chelsea's market value of their team, 1.06 billion. just
contrast to 2 different worlds.
Yeah, just to compare what's at stake here. Chelsea gets through with a tie. Tunisia needs a win to get through. So, gentlemen, as always, was a pleasure. Thank you to everyone that was tuning in, sharing your thoughts, your opinions on the various platforms. If you're listening back after the fact or watching after the fact, feel free to follow, like, share, subscribe. Leave your comments after the fact as well. We go back and check those and answer all the questions and comments. So appreciate everyone jumping in. We will be back next week, hopefully moving on to the next round, and we can be planning our next trip together to go watch Benfica either in Atlanta or did I say Orlando or Miami? The next round after this one.
I think it would be in Philly.
No, I thought I saw it was Atlanta.
Guys, hold on.
No, this game is in
So this game's in Charlotte,
where we
Saturday.
just played Charlotte. Yeah.
And but then if we were to get through here, I think
it's Philly.
Oh no, is it Philly?
Tiago's confirming Philly. I don't know if I'm right or not.
Next game
Philly
would be at Lincoln Financial.
Philly.
Oh man, that's a little bit closer to home.
Fuck.
That's only a 6-hour
Bayern. Fuck Bayern.
Ruined all of Oscar's plans. They could have had a freaking road to the final. And actually, no, I think the games I think after
It would have been
the
harder because we would
semis-
have to probably pass Flamengo, which would have been easy. And then,
Well, you got
and then
you got the harder side of the bracket here. You've got
Yeah.
PSG there.
I know,
Miami
but
potentially, Real Madrid, Manchester City. One of them will be there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but it would have been easy to smash Flamengo.
you're gonna get hate mail in your Facebook Messenger from Joaquin soon if you haven't already. All right, gentlemen.
Probably already breaking TVs watching shitty ass Sounders team that you can't score against.
As always, a pleasure. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Viva o Sport
See you later,
Lisboa e
guys.
Benfica. Good night.
Later.